don't have much on the agenda. I guess most of you will speak kind of at the end of the meeting. They're right on that table.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well, the Hardy people are here tonight. I would like to call to order the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council open session meeting on December 9th, 2019. Pledge of Allegiance, can we do all stand and do the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will do the roll call. Pioneer Town, Steve Bardwell.
Present.
Yucca Mesa, Tom Zeigert is not present. Landers, Michelle Cicero, is that right?
Cicero.
Cicero. Joshua Tree, Ellen Jackman.
Here.
Desert Heights, Pat Flanagan.
Here.
Wonder Valley, Steve Reyes.
Here.
Morongo Valley, Gail Swart, here. Copper Mountain Mesa, Mary Helen Tuttle is not here. And Johnson Valley, Jim Harvey is not here. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? Not a whole lot on the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I see that we don't have on here, oh yeah, there it is. Approval of the October 14th minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at those? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the?
I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public Safety County Fire?
Yep.
Hi.
Here.
Tell everyone your name.
How you doing? Mike McClintock, Battalion Chief of County Fire Department. Here one of the shift VCs. Give you a little update. So we've had some new additions. We have a new fire chief named. It's Fire Chief Dan Muncie. He's a local resident from Yucca Valley. He's been with the county since 1995 and has served as an assistant fire chief in multiple capacities. So we're excited to keep him and have him move up, and I think it's going to be really beneficial for the Morongo Valley as he's a local, born and raised here, and he understands the challenges and the needs we have here. So we're really excited to have him named. He's got a great education, great experience base, and I think it'll be really beneficial. Basically, we've kind of coming down off fire season, so we're pretty happy that we've got some wet weather. But we've also had some wet weather, which has kept it pretty busy with storms. So our biggest thing is we want to say, turn around, don't drown. Try not to go across any road crossings with water going across. Only a foot of water can actually sweep you and your car away. So we're asking you guys to turn around, not drown. With the rain, also our burn permitting process and burns is opened up again. So if you're looking to burn some of your yard debris,
Is it on?
there you go. Yeah, it's good now.
Got it on.
There's a green light.
Got a nice meeting with you.
All right, how's that? You hear it now?
I don't hear the road.
How's that?
You got some technical problems. So we'll give it a second. How's that? Oh yeah, there it is. Oh man. So I'll go back through that so we can catch some of it on the audio. But now that we've kind of transitioned out of fire season, we've got some wet weather under our belt. The burn permit process and open burning for yard debris is open again. So if you're looking to get a yearly burn permit, you can visit your local fire station. If you're in the state responsibility area west of the 247 or South Joshua Tree, you're also going to need to visit the CAL Fire Station there on Airway south of the highway. So as of 12/4, the burning suspension has been lifted, which is going to be a great thing, and that includes the unincorporated areas and the town of Yucca Valley. Another thing, I know it's for the city of 29 Palms is we got a new fire engine. They replaced the aging engine that was over 12 years old, and that had 200,000 miles. So if you're in Yucca Valley, or town of city of 29 Palms, you'll see a new fire engine. It's not green anymore. It's a new red one. And we've also have a new water tender coming to the Yucca Mesa Fire Station, which will serve us great for next fire season. Call-wise, we've been pretty busy. We've wrapped it up with a couple recent structure fires in Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley, and a couple fires up in Landers. So we're looking forward to wetter weather and getting out of fire season. Did anyone have any questions? Perfect.
Thank you.
I'm Chief Gary Yersley from Morongo Valley. Morongo Valley has also lifted their burning ban, so it looks like almost all the area around here has. Our call volume was down a little bit this month. This is the second month in a row we're down. We like that. We had 30 medical, 5 fire, 3 traffic, which is down, which is good. We like hearing that. And then 8 public assist. So as he mentioned, we've had a lot of the rain starting to come now and stuff, so we have to watch that grade that we have coming down. A lot of people don't realize that that's like a river running down, and hydroplaning and getting out of control is going to start happening now, so everybody should be careful on that. Is there any questions for anybody? Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. CIP?
All right, Officer Simmons with the California Highway Patrol at your local station here in Morongo Basin. Just a few of the stats that we have started since we haven't met in a couple months. 500 calls for service again for just the Morongo Basin area. We had 45 DUI arrests with drivers being a .08 or above. 2 drug arrests, 2 combos, which is drugs with marijuana and alcohol involved, for a total of 49 arrests. 12,003 citations, 24 for unlicensed drivers or suspended drivers. I believe last time Amboy wanted me to break it down a little more. We had 88 citations specifically for the Amboy area. I broke it down for Joshua Tree for 446, 332 for Morongo, 250 for Landers, and those just include the highway. So State Route 62 and State Route 247. Amboy also includes Amboy Road as well. So we had 57 traffic collisions during the 2 months. Unfortunately, we had 3 fatals. 2 were on the dry lake bed, and then 1 was a pedestrian down in Morongo Valley. 14 minor injury, 10 major injury, and 30 property damage only, meaning that no one was injured during the crash. So usually just damage to the vehicles. My lieutenant, the commander, would like to let you know that we do have an Explorer program that we have started. It's been in place for probably about 9 months now. And Explorer program is targeted towards 15-year-olds to 21-year-olds that are interested in law enforcement. We kind of piggybacked off the sheriff's department to get ours started and going, and so now we're off on our own. If anybody is interested, or obviously their children are interested in becoming law enforcement in the future, they can come to our office and apply to become an Explorer. Start Smart class. Start Smart class is for teenagers that are about to drive or already driving. We have a class coming up December 19th, and that starts at 6 p.m. and ends at 8. You need to call our office at 760-366-3707, and you can talk with me, Officer Simmons, and I can set you up for that. The students or the teenager along with their parent need to be in the class, so it's not just for the child, it's for the adult as well. And then that is all free, so there's no charge for anything to do that. The last thing I have is, it is December, so we do have Chips for Kids going on. I was able to get boxes down at Walgreens always has a box if you want to drop off any unwrapped toys, anywhere from ages 0 to 17. We're looking for toys, and what we do is you distribute that around the community. We have Unity Home that comes with us that are trying to get toys for those kids, as well as the court services area tries to get toys for those kids as well. And then whatever toys we have left after that, then we go along and try to team up with the fire department, get a fire truck out there, and we'll go around the local community and just pass out toys, play Christmas music over the public address system, and try to get kids to come out of their houses and hand out toys. So we try to collect as many toys as possible. And then we also do have, this year I was able to get 2 boxes at Walmart as well. So the 2 main entrances have boxes near where the receipt checker is. Right in front of there, you can drop off any toys there. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Any plans for adult or senior driving credit classes like the Start Smart?
We do have an Age Well class. I have to get a venue and try to set that up, but you can call the office as well for that. And then I'll try to get something set up. We have grant money for that as well as the Start Smart class. The grant money for the Age Well is, we have grant money for 2 classes for the year. So I'll try to set that up. I know Teachers Association tries to get that, and then I try to do another one for everybody else. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Could you repeat that phone number that you said?
Yes, 760-366-3707.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go back to Cal Fire.
Good evening. My name is Drew Smith with Cal Fire. I'm stationed at the,
Tell us all your name.
on my, yeah, you just get up the other mic. I'm catching up. Okay. My name is Drew Smith. I'm with Cal Fire. I'm stationed over at the fire station on Airway Avenue across the street from Vaughn's. I do have some things to report about our status, the changing weather, and transitioning into colder temperatures, transitioning into winter time, how it affects this community and the fire situation statewide. So as we know, rain's coming in, things are changing, fire severity is going down, right? How does that affect here is this is the time that we're going to be focusing more on our wildland inspections, and this is the opportunity for the community as well to catch up on vegetation removal and getting ahead of some of the outdoor projects to increase your fire safety and preparation for summertime. Something to think about weather-wise, the Morongo Basin here has got about 2 inches, like 1.78 inches of rain just in this community. 29 Palms is a little bit more, but how that affects here is that the larger vegetation, let's say some of the sage, some of the pine trees, they're absorbing more water. They're going to be more resilient in preparation for the summertime. Compare that to the other side of the desert, like Cone Pass, Hesperia area. They're looking about an inch more, so you're looking at about 2.5 inches. That vicinity there, they're also getting enough rain to support the larger vegetation. Now compare that to a few years ago when we were a whole lot more dry. We're in a cycle that was not producing as much rainwater. That had a reflection on how busy we were locally in the whole desert. So the rain is a good thing, and we can use a little bit more. On that note, we have opened up our burn suspension, so we've lifted that, and on the residential side, you're able to burn, and that's going to be from 6 a.m. to noon. You can have a 4x4 pile to remove natural growing vegetation around your property. Any further than that, like commercial stuff or agriculture, you have to slide by. There's another form. It's a bigger process, but we can talk more about that if you come by my station. But residential burning is available. Come by the Cal Fire Station on Airway Avenue, and I can get you a burn permit. and explain some of the restrictions and how to do it safely. And And on a closing note, with the temperatures dropping, burning things in your fireplaces, take extra caution with that. If there's any kind of issues with your chimneys, fireplaces, get it serviced by a professional. Any kind of issues with your heater, get it serviced by a professional. It's just going to get colder, and the longer you wait, the more backed up they are with other clients. So keep that in mind. Don't push your luck with a chimney that's failing, or some kind of fire, some kind of wood burning stove that has issues. There's a carbon monoxide side of it that's dangerous to anyone inhabiting the inside of it, and there's also the chimney burnout or it extending into your attic if it's not properly maintained. Sounds good? Any questions at all? All right, thank you.
So, we've had a busy couple months for the Sheriff's Department. We did about, this last month was about 1,800 calls for service in our county area. That was roughly about the same, but more importantly, we had a couple of barricaded subjects I'm sure you guys may have heard of. One obviously and unfortunately ended in an officer-involved shooting. The other one ended in, unfortunately, a suicide. People often ask us, why do we go to houses where somebody wants to harm themselves and be there? We get those questions a lot out in the communities, and we just want the community to know that when we go out to these locations, it's usually because we are keeping the public's interest in mind. For example, if somebody is unstable and possibly armed and they make their way out to the community, that becomes a bigger problem for you guys. So we try to contain the situation to a residence or a certain area. So unfortunately, sometimes they don't end the best, but we had to do what we had to do, and we try to help people the best we can. But unfortunately, we can't help everybody all the time. Unfortunately, also, OHV season is really kicking up, and it's kicking us. So we're really ramping up our OHV patrols out there. We're doing the best we can. We have deployed our teams on several different weekends in the most problematic areas. We're doing our best to try to stay on top of it and educate, as well as cite those individuals that shouldn't be out there. And we're receiving feedback, I think pretty good feedback from the communities, as well as the areas to go, and the fact that we've been doing a pretty decent job, I'd like to say, on trying to stay on top of it. Also, we had, obviously you guys know recently we had the sexually violent predator. They attempted to release into our area. We took off our boxing gloves and went down to Ventura County, and the Sheriff John McMahon went with us all down there, as well as Supervisor Rao, and Dominic from Shannon Grove's office went down with us, as well as some members from the community, and the judge made her decision not to release that individual into our area, so we consider that a win. Very happy about that. So the other thing that's really been taxing with us lately, and I'm sure some of you may have been hearing about them as well, is the marijuana grow issues that we've been having out here in our county areas. We're doing everything we can to stay on top of those. Please understand that we get multiple, my apologies. This watch thing doesn't work as well as I thought it was going to. We get multiple calls on those. We have a lot of them out there. We are trying to work with our narcotics division to try to get them on top of it. Obviously, they handle the entire county, so it is quite difficult. One solution that we have come up with is to cross-train some of our deputies with an expertise in marijuana grows. We think hopefully here within the next couple of months we can get that done. We believe that may have an impact. They may be able to work some higher level cases on some of these marijuana grows out here. Just to remind the public, you are only allowed 6 plants at a residence, and if you are above those 6 plants, then you do look at potentially felony cultivation charges. We've seen a decline in the honey oil labs that we were having so many problems with, which is a good thing. For a while there, I'm sure you guys saw us working hand in hand with County Fire, as well as Morongo Valley Fire, and we had a couple of them explode based on the butane that was utilized to try to extract the oils from the plants. So that decline is helping, but we do know it's a problem. We're trying our best to stay on top of it. Please know that we're in your corner. We don't want them either. And we're also working with Southern California Edison. They tend to also give us red flags when they see properties, or they come across properties that are maybe not properly connected or that have extremely high bills. We do everything we can to work with them. They try to respect the privacy of homeowners, obviously, but they do everything they can to help us out. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell. The holiday season's coming up. We just ask that everybody please drive safe. Please don't drink and drive, and enjoy your families. Slow down, enjoy the view, as they say, through Joshua Tree. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
My biggest complaint from residents of Orlando, the issue that comes with the most is about the illegal pot farms.
Yes.
And what do I tell them to do about reporting, and what is the best way?
So tell them to call us at the sheriff's station. Our detective sergeant, we give all that information to him. He works closely with our narcotics division. I'm not kidding you guys. Narcotics unfortunately has hundreds on their list that they have to go out and try to get. That's why we're trying to cross-train our people and maybe try to make it more localized for us and give them a little bit more of a specialty in it. But we're kind of at their whim. You know, they do their best to stay on top of everything. They're looking for the very large ones. I do know there's a couple inlanders that we are watching. And at the Homestead Valley meetings, I've had discussions with some of your residents up there. And they emailed me and given me locations. Just know that they are on the list. We just got to try to figure out a way to get to them.
Yeah, because they also break, because there's not many houses where they are, so.
Yes, you're exactly right. And not that any of them are watching on the cast, but if you are watching and you're growing, we're coming after you eventually. So we'll make it there sooner or later. So think twice. No problem. Yes, ma'am.
A couple of things, in regard to this growing, is that because San Bernardino doesn't agree like Riverside grows, or are they doing that in Riverside too, illegal grow?
So there are areas in Riverside that allow it legally. As a county of San Bernardino, your board of supervisors has decided they don't want to go that route. So in the county areas, as well as both the city and the town as well, they don't, it's not legal there either. So we're dealing with that as a separate issue, but in the county, your board of supervisors have stood strong in the sense that they don't want legal grows. So because of that, we still are trying to apply the applicable laws to the situation. You know, through ordinances and so forth, there can be some changes. However, people have to also understand it is still illegal federally. It's not legal federally. So there's a kind of a conflict of interest there. But the bottom line is the board of supervisors and as law enforcement, we do realize that some people may need a minimal amount of plants for their own, medical issues or whatever it is that they may have. But we know that there's those folks out there that are doing it for simply the financial gain, and we're doing everything we can to stop that. So, as far as Riverside County goes, some of their county area some of their districts do allow it. I know some of their cities do. As you can see on the 10 freeway, we'll come to you and deliver to you and everything else. But out here in your county, we're not doing that. So that's the big difference.
Couldn't that alleviate some of that issue if they changed their mind?
I guess maybe it could. Unfortunately, as a state, I think the argument's not real strong there for keeping it illegal. It's moving its way down south from the Sacramento area, and it started up in those counties up there. Unfortunately, that's the trend. That's the way it's going across the United States. Right now, one of our biggest issues is the delivery system. It's illegal here in Yucca Valley and Joshua Tree and so forth, but how do I stop a guy from Palm Springs from delivering to one of his customers up here? It really is problematic, and it's very frustrating for us. It's frustrating also on the DUI aspect too, because alcohol is one thing, marijuana is another thing. you know, our deputies and the CHP officers are out there stopping folks, you know, trying to make those arrests when they are DUI. But it's a problem because just like alcohol, you're impaired and you're crashing into people when you're using that stuff. So it's a struggle. It really is. And the testing capabilities aren't quite there yet.
I know it's complicated, but I think.
Very.
This seems like it might be helpful if they reconsider something. So anyway, my other question is, the potential of squatters on residential empty lots. Do you check on those?
So we will, if you call us and you have a concern because somebody is squatting on an empty lot, we absolutely will come out and check them out. We do not enforce the code violations that are in place, so code enforcement, we would defer to them. But they are most likely your best source. But if you think there's a safety issue or you just want us to check on the folks to see who they are, and we don't mind it, you know, we'd like to know who they are too. You know, I mean, our deputies would like to know who they are. Not saying, you know, they're not all bad, but you know, there are some bad eggs just like everything else out there, and we'd like to know who they are. So by all means, if you see us and you'd like us to check on them, please do. Give us a call.
Yeah, thank you.
And you guys have the number to the office? Just in case, I'll give it to you, 760-366-4175. 4175.
Spot.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? All right. Have a good night, guys.
Chief Yearsley, I forgot to ask you, is Morongo Valley Fire Department giving out burn permits itself?
Not yet.
Okay. So does that mean people have to go to California or the county to get burn permits?
Well, they can go, I guess they can still go to California, because they do.
Okay.
land also.
Okay.
They can do it up there, and they can go down to, there's only one county has too.
Yeah, if they're in the state responsibility area, they're gonna have to go to the California Regional Area.
On Airway.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay. We don't have anyone speaking tonight. We don't have a program planned. We don't have a program planned for tonight, so we're going to just start by having all the directors give their end of the year kind of statement, and then we'll have the people who would like to speak after that. I don't think they're here. Is there anybody here from Haven? No, they're not here. Okay, thank you. I'm going to start this off by saying I'm really glad to see all of you here. It's been a really good experience for me to be the chairperson of the MAC, and I've enjoyed it very much. And I'm very much open to any other member on the MAC to take this position for next year. I hope somebody will talk to, talk to Mark if that's something you would like to do, because I'm very willing to hand this over to someone else on the MAC. I'd like to say, in Morongo Valley, we're having our firehouse Christmas tree lighting on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and we're going to have the children from Morongo Valley Elementary School are going to come over and sing for us, and we'll have refreshments, and Santa Claus and either Mrs. Santa Claus or an elf will be there to accompany Santa Claus. We are still, as a community, struggling with our finances and with what we need to do to keep our fire department going. It's not easy for us, and our fire chief works very hard at trying to keep everything going. So you may hear more about that in the new year. And I think that's all I need to say. Steve?
Which one?
Steve Bardwell. No, Steve Reyes. You start.
Well, I speak kind of loud, so.
No, they need it for the camera.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me in the back? I don't know if I have an end of your statement. Just we've been having monthly meetings at the community center. Been getting a lot of volunteers from the community give training and some updates. We had a local resident who was had a long career as in pest abatement and gave a training showed us all about rat abatement. But it's been really rewarding for me during my time here to have monthly meetings and to get to know members of the community and find out the concerns, and then working with Mark. Mark's been very supportive, as well as everybody left, but all the first responders. So with that said, I'm just very looking forward to 2020.
Thanks. Well, the big news up in Pioneer Town over the last year is that we've got fresh water up there now. So this is a big deal up there. There was an article in the Desert Sun this morning talking about the water system, and they have allocated, according to this article, I haven't confirmed it otherwise, but they've allocated 42 meters in addition to the existing meters that are already in place there. So there is definitely some pressure for growth there in Pioneer Town as a result of this nice clean water. There's also pressure for growth up in there, just up in the Skyline Ranch area. There's a couple of very large parcels that are for sale, and it's beginning to put up raise the issue of access to these, whereas Skyline Ranch Road comes in from the 247 side. It kind of dead ends at those parcels. And then you have Skyline Ranch coming in from the west side, which also dead ends at these parcels. So there's some property owners up there really trying to keep their eye on what's happening within this area. Along that line, there have been some reports of several wells up in the Pioneer Town area that have gone dry. And the Mojave Water Agency is in the process of trying to keep an eye on the water system up there, and they have put out a request to various property owners there to allow them to monitor their wells to see what the water level is and what it does over time, which I think is a good thing. There are some people up in our community that are adamant that they think, don't let anybody get their hands on, even start to take a look at my well. In Pioneer Town proper, there are several commercial developments that look like they may open within the next year. The Red Dog Saloon, which is on Main Street, is scheduled. It looks like it's going to be opening in March, as near as we can tell. It's going to be a restaurant and also have a bar. So that's kind of nice. They're going to be serving primarily breakfast and lunch, is what I understand. So that'll be nice to have some additional commercial developments there in Pioneer Town. The bowling alley's gotten a new roof, but I'm not sure how much further it's going to go than that. Otherwise, just with over the past year, I've been happy to be able to serve here on the council. And I'm really pleased to see that we have made some progress with getting a dark sky ordinance moving here. And this is something that in 2020, I'm going to really see if I can't start rattling some cages in the county to see if we can't get this ordinance actually in place. We've had good indications that it's going to happen, but it has not happened as yet. So stay tuned for that. That's it. Thanks.
Hi, Michelle Cicero from Landers. First off, I just want to say how proud I am of this community with the response against the sexual violent predator that was going to be placed here, especially Supervisor Rao in her office and Tonalisa Arrugas, the local woman who would be most directly probably affected if that would have happened. It was really encouraging and just showing the strength of our community and what we're, what's possible. As far as what's going on in Landers, we have at the Landers Community Association, there's their regular monthly meeting is next Saturday at 3 p.m. and anyone's welcome to come. The third Monday of the month is our USDA food giveaway, and we're having another Landers Record Fair at Belfield Hall on December 29th. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ellen Jackman, Joshua Tree. I just want to say thank you, everybody who's here for coming and everybody who comes every month. Just seeing all the people who come to these meetings and care about the community makes me feel like a proud member of this community. I want to wish everybody happy and safe holidays, and I know that in 2020 we'll continue to face challenges with increased visitation to the park, for example. But I feel that now that we have the short-term rental ordinance in place, things are going to come along nicely, and we'll get sort of control on some of the issues that have been a concern for the community in recent years. So I look forward to continuing to serve the community in 2020 and look forward to continuing to see you all in 2020. Thanks.
Pat Flanagan, Desert Heights, and as most of you know, we don't have a community center, and I don't know all my neighbors. I would be fearful of their dogs if I was to go, knocking on their doors. But we're spread out, and we are part of the unincorporated county of San Bernardino, and as such, I pay a lot of attention to how the county deals with unincorporated areas. For the last bit of time, we have been working in response to a utility solar project in Daggett and Newberry Springs, which is 5.5 square miles, and which the Planning Commission passed the environmental impact report. And that report has really triggered a lot of soul searching by community members, because the responses by the county planning Department, Land Use Services, essentially said that no comments would be taken that didn't directly deal with the physical effect of the project, which means that communities who have a social and an economic and health effects downwind were not listened to. That's very interesting, because that's an environmental justice issue. So then now roaming the web, which we can do in environmental justice, what I found was that starting in 2012 with Kamala Harris as Attorney General directly saying that people are part of the physical effects downwind and whatever. And so they need to be considered, which is directly the opposite of how the environmental impact report was treated. And then there's also a recent letter from Brasura, our current Attorney General, who comments on a project that the countywide plan, this is the update of the general plan, had commissioned an environmental justice report by PlaceWorks, who is the consultant for the county, and they weren't very happy with it, and it also was not included into the countywide plan. So there is no environmental justice aspect currently in the countywide plan. That is, every one of our communities out here is environmentally and economically disadvantaged. We are not wealthy communities. We need to have our voice heard. And if our voice isn't heard, then we get run over. So this is a unincorporated community, broadly speaking. And so I'm sure you'll hear more of this. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And tomorrow at 10 o'clock, there is a hearing for the Daggett project. And that is an underlying fundamental aspect of it. You say, well, hey, Pat, that's up in Daggett and Newberry Springs. But the downstream effects of that are right here. That if we don't look after ourselves, so just showing up if you so would like to, you don't need to comment, or you can comment. If you're wondering how you might comment, I would suggest that you get online and go to Mojave Watch, which has written a very good overview of the many issues in there. And just, if nothing else, begin to follow the issue, because it's a big deal. Any questions? Yes?
What is the territory that you cover? I'm not really clear.
Desert Heights, we don't have a fence around it. It's just out there.
Where in relation to here?
If you go out there and you go to Copper Mountain Mesa and then you go east, and then you go and you look on a map and it'll say Desert Heights, and it's just this vague place.
Above Sunfair? Above Sunfair?
Um,
North of Sunfair?
it's east of Sunfair.
East.
The best thing you can do is just Google it or look on a county map, say, where's Desert Heights? Because we have statistics too, but it's just vague. There's actually a road called Desert Heights. And I'm with you right there. Lear, if you drive on Lear and go down Indian Trail, there you are, you're in that. But there's all these houses up in there and all this property, 5-acre tract. It's one of the big 5-acre tract places.
Behind Copper Mountain.
It's to the east of Copper Mountain. That hard to go behind because then you're in the Marine base sort of. But if Copper Mountain here, Desert Heights is there. Or from your place, Copper Mountain's here and Desert Heights is there. Have to go in the right direction.
In real estate terms, we call it West 29.
Ah, do you? I live on Mesa, and that is the line for 29 Palms having their interest is in area that is outside of their city limit. And so that's not, it's still part of the county, but if the city has a different idea about what can go on, then the county listens and vice versa.
Thank you.
Yes?
You've got a big solar development then on Lear out there in Desert Heights.
One of the ways that, if we just have a second and you want to hear this, how did I get involved in all of this utility solar is when they put in the Cascade Solar and they put in the Lear Avenue, I began to get dust that I had never had before. And it wasn't just, it was very fine dust. I had the visibility was 5 to 10 feet. When it was really blowing, I couldn't see my fence. What's interesting is and surrounding me, the desert doesn't move. People say the desert blows. The desert doesn't blow if it's undisturbed. The root systems and all that mycorrhiza and all that underneath supports keeping the ground stable. I can stand in my yard and I can look at the Marine base, and if I can't see it, then the dust is coming down from Lucerne Valley. And I've seen this, and Mark has been we've been in the car where we see the dust make a left-hand turn and go in front of the Marine base. So these are all areas. What's attractive to people who want to develop solar is you need to have low elevation, fairly flat land and some kind of transmission around it. It just so happens that those places, because of our basin and range topography, those are the places that have gathered sand and dust over time since the end of the ice ages. And so when they're disturbed, they move. And some, if you're actually in a dry lake, like in Lucerne Dry Lake, and you break the crust, you get a lot of dust. So they have a lot of dust anyway. With us, when you drive down Highway 62 and you look at thousands of acres of creosote, that's almost like it's a colonial organism. They're all bound together. And you'll notice that when the wind blows, they just sit there. You'll also notice that they don't have, all of a sudden one big creosote going, okay, I'm taking all the water, so shut up. No, they don't do that. It's an extremely complex system underground. I think many of you have heard, we're seeing Robin Caballi's work on the carbon sequestration. And so that is an actively sequestering ground. And it also has, that's when it's wet, but it also has stabilized carbon underground. So if you leave it alone, it's stored. If you disturb it, it's released. So in this time when we're really considering the release of carbon into our atmosphere, we are a major, the deserts of California are a major sequesterer of carbon. Do we hear that? No. As the state still has to learn that. We're still a place that, there's nothing out there, right? Right, except that, remember this, when people say there's nothing out there, I'll give you two statistics. The deserts of California cover 28% of the state. They have 38% of the native plants. So how about that? That's diversity. And California is a biodiversity hotspot on the planet. And that's my report. Gail, Austin.
Do I need to stand over there?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You're so beautiful.
Good evening. I'm Gail Austin from Joshua Tree, and I want to talk about two different things that are happening. The first one is tomorrow, Tuesday, December 10th at 6 p.m. at the Sportsman's Club next door. There will be a meeting about the Panorama Heights Fire Station to discuss what's going to happen with it. I'm going to leave some flyers on the table for anybody that's interested in taking them. Take more than one if you know someone and you want to pass it out. But it has to do with ARCH, which is a wonderful program. It's been around for over 20 years that helps homeless people into temporary housing, but they don't plan to make it a day center for homeless anymore, so that's off the table. The second thing is that the Joshua Basin Water District, along with Mojave Desert Water Agency, MWA, they're going to be putting on classes about winter water saving workshops. And they'll be January 18th, February 1st, February 8th, and February 22nd. You must pre-register if you want to attend any or all workshops. For those people watching on YouTube, if you want to attend any or all, call 760-821-5716 or email kjradnich@jbwd.com. And I'd like to see a lot of people tomorrow at the Panorama Heights so that everything is open and clear about what's going to happen. And if you feel so inclined, you might want to look on their website, see what they need, and maybe bring a donation with you to drop off. Thank you.
Jane Jarlsberg.
Jane Jarlsberg, I live in Joshua Tree also, I love it. Glad I'm here, and here. I'm glad I followed Gail also. I'm a member, as she is, of the Citizen Advisory Council, the CAC, as we also know it, for the Water District in Joshua Tree. And I'm advocating that we have a regular water report here from that district, and I think they're actually working on it. I think they said they were talking, the board is talking, or someone in the staff is talking to MAC about having a regular report. I think it's an important water district, and we need to know what's going on here. Couple of things. Other than that, I'm sorry that Haven wasn't here. I'm part of Haven, and I really think I also advocated to have a spokesperson here, and they didn't show. I'm not sure what happened. One of the things I wanted to make sure you know about, we're doing a point-in-time count for the homeless in January. They've already designated the day. They're looking for volunteers. The hardest part of it is getting up before dawn and being down here at 5:30 to pick up supplies and go out and count people. But the most fun is talking to the people out there. There's such an amazing population of homeless in our area, in all different phases of homelessness. And we get to talk to them, find out what their stories are, and it's really fascinating, I think, in a very diverse group. They are not what you think they are, or many people think they are. They're just vastly diverse in age, economic capability, mental capability, and reasons for being homeless. Anyway, I'm going to be there and I enjoy it, except for the getting up early part. Let's see. And I just wanted to say that people that gripe about the county on Facebook, I'm quite aware of many of them. Anytime I have a chance, I tell them if they really want to say their piece, come to MAC meetings. How many have come here? This is the place to do it. I mean, we can also call the county and speak to a faceless person, but this is really the place to speak out for your gripes and maybe have some input into the county and how they handle it. So, and I'm grateful for Dawn Rao. I think she's doing a great job. We were pleased, maybe a little anxious about the possibility of her, but I think it's turning out well, and I hope she continues. Thank you.
Marjorie Smith?
I'm glad you don't have an agenda because I have a lot of things I can tell you. Hi, I'm Marjorie Smith. I represent San Bernardino County VOAD, which are voluntary organizations active in disasters. The organizations you may know are the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, the Catholic Charities, the LDS Charities, the Adventist. It goes on and on. We have a myriad of organizations who, when we have a disaster, step in and help. I chair the Morongo Basin COAD, which is community organizations active in disasters. That means that we need to have organizations that are here locally who will provide the volunteers when we need them. They provide the support. You know we don't have a large force of first responders. We have like 16 firemen at one time. How are you going to be safe if we have the big one? If we have a simple disaster, a small one, such as we had with Joshua Tree, we can handle it because the county can get up here. And the county has wonderful resources and they have a fantastic plan. The part that I played in the Trona, and I'm still working on Trona, I sat in the EOC, which is the Emergency Operations Center. I answered the telephones and I got the donations and I got the people fed and we got all these things in place. I meant traveling to Rialto every other day for 3 weeks, 86 miles each way, unpaid. So what I came tonight to is I want to meet the people of Joshua Tree who are leaders. We are beginning our emergency plan for volunteers in the area. We've started with Homestead Valley, which includes Johnson Valley, Flamingo Heights, Yucca Mesa, and Landers. Now I'm going to start with Joshua Tree, and I believe it's Copper Mountain, and I've never heard of Desert Heights, and I think that would be in this group too. We have to cover the entire Morongo Basin from down the grade all the way out as far as you go this way and that way as volunteers. We have nobody else to help us except ourselves. So we have a plan, I have put a plan together which divides the basin into 5 areas. I can handle 5 people. I have 29 Palms, Joshua Tree, Copper Mountain, now Desert Heights with it, Yucca Valley, and Homestead Valley, and Morongo. Does that make sense to you as 5 areas? Now in those 5 areas, I need 2 key people, preferably even 4, that are committed to their communities so that if and when we have a disaster, that you will answer the phone calls to start with. Soon as we get out, the idea is that we then utilize our churches and create a grid system so that every square foot of this area is covered. In Joshua Tree, it was so sad because we did not know that you had a disaster. I live in Yucca Valley, near the Best Western, and I was supposed to go to a meeting I was supposed to do an event, a shakeout event. It was October 13th at Stater Brothers, or Tractor Supply. And when we went to go in the morning, I called my friend and she couldn't get out. She lives in Pueblo here in Joshua Tree. So we didn't go any further than that, didn't follow up. Monday morning got a call from the governor's office and said, "Did you have a disaster?" And then we went to work. So I don't want that to happen again. We need to know when an area has a problem, they have a way to get information to the county. So we're going to have a ham radio operator in each of those 5 stations, in case telephones don't work. So now when a disaster is actually called by the supervisor's office that says this is a disaster, then we will be deployed. Prior to that, everything we do is just simply what we've done ahead of time and planning it as individuals. Once we are deployed, we will open a volunteer resource center, which will require approximately 15 to 20 people in each center, and it depends on the size of the disaster, how many hours a day it has to be open. And for that, I need volunteers. Now, the volunteers for that are everybody in this room could do that. And you could have the little old lady that sits in the wheelchair can do that, because there's jobs for everybody in that kind of situation. You have to be prepared for having like 2,000 volunteers walk up and say, "I want a job to do. I'm here." This is what happens. Volunteers come out of the woodwork in disasters. So then the second thing we open at that time, if we need it, is a donation center. It's called a Donations Distribution Center. And we'll set that up in another area than the resource center. We will not accept any donations that we don't want. We do not want mystery bags. If you could see the pile of mystery bags that arrive and people think they're doing the best things ever, and they are stacks of them, and somebody has to pay to dispose of it, and it's sad. Yes, Mark?
Or these supposed to be 3 minutes on the comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why don't you schedule a presentation for the next meeting? Could you do that?
I'd be happy to. Now I've got a second, now I can do it a second, I have a second topic. I was asked on Thursday for Listos. It is a state organization. They contacted me from the governor's office, and they want me to open Listos. Listos is designed for the vulnerable and disadvantaged population, which includes the seniors, those that don't speak English, and the disadvantaged and the disabled. And this is to teach emergency preparedness. Instead of taking a CERT course, you take a 1-day course, and it's for everybody. So I need volunteers. What I have here is just a piece of paper I'll put over there. If you're interested at all, please put your name on it, and I'll contact you. Remember, you don't do anything unless a disaster occurs, and I hope not.
Thank you.
Yes?
Isn't there a meeting at Copper Mountain Base on Wednesday?
I don't know about it, but tell me about it.
It was in the newspaper at 6:30, Copper Mountain Base for disaster preparedness.
Oh, I'm not there, but I'd love to be there. The only way I know is if you tell me, because we don't have that network yet. We need that network. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless anyone else has something they want to add, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, and that we see you again in January on the second Monday of the month at 5:30. And I'm sure we'll have a program set up for then. Thank you so much for coming.